And our next guest is the current holder of the trophy, the former world motor racing champion and the only man ever to leave Murray Walker lost for words, Damon Hill. And you've won it twice.
Yeah. I must say, it was a cheap way of getting it returned, inviting me on the show.
What price a third win this year?
I think a slim chance of me getting it this year. It wasn't such a shining year for me.
No, indeed. We'll talk about that in just a second. I must just ask you, though, because the first programme in this series, you spoke about what had happened the day before in the European Grand Prix with Michael Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve. And obviously the sentencing, if one can call it that, has taken place subsequently. What do you feel about the punishment, with a very small p, that Michael Schumacher got?
Well, I think that, that it seemed to me that the result was a little bit out of step with what I think most people felt had actually happened. I mean, to take away someone's second place out of a championship was really no punishment at all, in my view, because he doesn't want to come second, he wants to come first. And, you know, there was a bit of a slap on the wrist, I think, for something that was, in my view, not very sporting.
What would you have done if it had been your sanction?
Well, I don't know. I think there's something like maybe perhaps making him start from the back of the grid for the first 3 races might have been more entertaining, and given some of the others a chance as well.
Because, I mean, there is almost a comparison to be made here with, shall we say, Frankie Dettori, the former champion jockey, who effectively has lost the title this year because he's kept being banned by the Jockey Club, who are saying this man is not bigger than the sport.
Right.
He's, contravened the rules, therefore he is banned for a week, 2 weeks, however long it might be. It almost smacks here of Michael Schumacher being bigger than Grand Prix racing and the sport as a whole not being able to do without him.
Well, as I said, I felt it was not enough, but, you know, it's not my job, it's not my territory. I'm out there to compete, but, you know, I do like to think that there's going to be an even way of, coming down on people who use those sort of tactics.
So you have a feeling that had it not been Michael Schumacher or one of the big 2 or 3, they would have got a much stiffer sentence?
No, I think they dealt with it in the way they felt was fit at the time, but I think in many people's view it wasn't really much of a punishment. I mean, as I said, to take away his second place is irrelevant. It's history anyway. Second place is not what he wants.
Are you a Schumacher fan as a man?
I don't have a problem. I think he's actually, you know, away from the circuit, I think he's a fairly decent chap, but, you know, on the circuit he adopts very ruthless tactics. And it's not something that I feel totally comfortable with, the way that he goes about it. But it's a rough sport, and you know, you have to either get on with it and not complain about it, or get out.
Well, it's been a rough sport in a way for you this year, hasn't it? In a way, given the problems that you had, was the second place that you had in Hungary in the Arrows, was that almost your greatest ever Grand Prix drive?
Well, it would have been if I'd won it, but I came within 3 laps of not. Of achieving that. Well, it was a bit of a disappointment, to put it mildly.
But you know what I mean, in overcoming all the technical problems and everything else? Because you didn't have a ready-made winning car there.
No, well, in fact, Arrows never won a Grand Prix. In fact, that was the closest they'd ever come in their entire history to winning a Grand Prix, so I do consider that to be some sort of accomplishment. But, as I said, it would have been much better to have won it.
Do you regret going to that team now?
No, we gave it a go, and we had a good shot at it, but in all honesty, at the time, there was very little to choose from between the 3 teams that I was looking at. And I thought Tom at Arrows had a fresh look and was going to try and get things done. But at the end of the day, we weren't able to do as much as we wanted to do with the package.
How much does the Williams dismissal still rankle? Just somewhere in the back of your mind?
Well, naturally, I wasn't too happy about it. But I'm trying to bounce back, and I think I will bounce back with Jordan next year.
Sure.
We're looking good. I've been up to the factory and met some people there, and I'm looking into, ways of getting the ball rolling as soon as we can.
OK, well, that's the future, and we'll talk about the future in a moment with our next guest too. But talking about the past, we've actually spent the week trawling through the archives, and this is the very first piece of footage we ever found of you.
Well, this could be the generation game, because here I have Graham Hill and his son Damon Hill. They used to live at Mill Hill, and now they've moved to Shenley, which has mucked up the whole ride. But Graham, Nice to see you here.
Thank you, Bruce.
And you, Damon?
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, come on, say something. All right, something. You look like you. He can't chat as much as you, can he? He'll learn. He'll learn.
It was particularly fetching the way you had one collar out and one in. That was on Jim Will Fix It, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Because you started a race that your dad took part in?
Yes, I think it was fixed for me to be starting a race that my dad was in. And I went down there to Brands Hatch and had that rather embarrassing interview.
Yeah. And now, is it right that it actually took 2 days to film that Pizza Hut advert with Murray?
Yes, the whole thing's about 25 seconds and it took 2 days. Well, well, you can imagine, Murray finds it difficult to get it all out when he hasn't got pizza in his mouth, but...
Well, actually, you might not have seen some of these false starts before.
It's go! And Damon Hill leads into the front. Here comes the pasta.
It's a pizza, Murray, it's a pizza.
And here comes the pasta.
It's...
I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying.
There's pizza everywhere. Hill spun his pizza through 360 degrees or even 180 degrees. And here comes the pizza.
It's a pasta...
Yeah. And actually, there is actually one other aspect of your life I think it's important to draw attention to, aside from the pizza eating, and that's the guitar playing.
Yeah.
How about that, eh? Not bad. And you were in a band called Sex, Hitler and the Hormones.
We try to forget that.
Which were you?
Well, I think I was a hormone.
Because you actually have an impromptu band at the moment, don't you, that sort of occasionally plays at Silverton and other places. And when you're on the guitar, the guy who's actually on the drums is the man who hopefully is going to ensure you're actually on the winner's podium next summer, because next season Damon's going to be driving, as you mentioned earlier, for the Jordan team, which is owned by Eddie Jordan. Eddie, hello.
Most expensive guitarist in the history of motor racing.
Yeah. How much does he cost you?
I can't possibly tell you. I'd be almost ashamed. Almost. Almost.
Well, I'm glad you've brought the subject of money up, because that rather conveniently takes us on to the subject of tobacco sponsorship. And putting aside all the political ramifications and everything else, how do you feel sort of about the moral aspect of basically just sort of operating advertising hoardings for nicotine companies?
Really, I don't have a very strong moral opinion on this, because I see that, for me anyway, I see there's an element of hypocrisy. I believe that every single government in the globe derives huge revenue from the sales of tobacco, and what perhaps seems perfectly legitimate to them suddenly is not legitimate to us. I use Grand Prix car as a platform to advertise for all sorts of products, and in this case, tobacco is a legal product, and I'm happy to be part of that. So I don't have a moral problem with that.
I saw Jackie Stewart with a big interview in one of the papers yesterday saying that he felt it was imperative for Formula One to almost stand apart from tobacco, and he tried with his team to ensure they didn't have any involvement with that. Do you actually think, though, that Grand Prix racing could survive without the backing of the big tobacco companies?
First, may I just answer by saying it's all very fine for Jackie Stewart to be in that situation, but give it a couple of years, because he's just joined Formula One and there's no doubt about his credibility as a driver. but we have to see how he gets on as a team, first of all. And it's very convenient because I started in Formula One without a tobacco involvement, but I certainly wouldn't be able to employ the levels of people that I currently employ, the very best in the world. I wouldn't be able to have the same research and development, and I certainly wouldn't be able to employ Damon Hill. So, you know, there is a difference of opinion. We have to be very clear about where we're all coming from.
Sure, but how far can you push this? You know, because, I don't know, if a chemical weapons factory suddenly said, here's £40 million to run a Formula One team, do you take their money as well?
Well, please, let's get it in the right perspective here. The situation is such at the moment, I think where everybody is coming from is that there is a big danger. And what we must be very careful about, I've come to Britain as a driver initially and more recently as a team. And, you know, let's not be fooled in this country. We have, without doubt, a wonderful jewel in the crown, and that happens to be Formula One technology as a sport, as an industry, as a business. And every government that has been in power in recent times has been very, very clear of the benefits that Grand Prix racing, its technology, its image has brought to industry, incoming industry and business in this country. And if we were fooled, there is not a country in the world that would not jump on it to take it. So we be very careful before we ridicule or castigate Formula One in terms of its value. And remember that these countries in Asia are prepared to take it very quickly.
So it's pragmatism over ideology in a way?
Well, call it what you like. I mean, the reality is you have a wonderful opportunity, a technical advantage in this country, and before you dismiss it, please make sure you see all the ramifications.
OK. How are you two going to break the cartel that McLaren and co have at the top?
Prepare that question.
Absolutely,
really.
yes, OK. We've got the politics out of the way. You know, how are you reasonably going to break into serious big time next year and have podium finishes after podium finishes?
Well, who starts on this one?
Have them off at the first corner. Seems to get you quite a long way these days. No, I think I have to say that one of my leading reasons for going to Eddie is that he's got enormous enthusiasm, and that's also there in the team. And the team have got a great feeling, and they injected a lot of life into the paddock in Formula One. They enjoy what they're doing. And when I went to was looking for a team, I wanted to make sure I had the right environment that gave me that enthusiasm, which is what it's all about in motor racing. And I think that above all else, is the power that will make Jordan a successful team.
Which I suppose in a sense takes us on to the perennial Hardy annual as far as motor racing is concerned. How much is it the car and how much is it the driver? I mean, how much is it what you're supplying
and
how much is what he's giving you?
And he'll say it's all him.
Yeah.
And
that's
we'll
why you're
fight
paying
forever.
so much money.
I mean, everything in the life is a package about whatever way you approach things. And one thing about motor racing is distinct from Greg's business. You have a racket which is the same as everyone else. Clearly in Formula One, that's not the case. Or in any type of racing, you have a team that's job it is to design, build, construct the very best car with the best engine that they can possibly get. And then you try to employ, or you put yourself in a financially strong enough position to be able to employ the best driver. And, you know, I've been trying to sign Damon for a couple of years. I have to tell you, he started his Formula 3 career with us way back in 1985. So it's not just our first time together. We've been together on and off through good times and bad times. So I think the balance is probably what he said. He will say it's 50-50. I would say nowadays with the cars and the technology, it may be slightly more geared towards the car side. If you don't really have a good car, irrespective of how good the driver is, he's not going to be able to perform. So it's very important that we give him the right car.
What he's saying is he can't do it without me.
He'd like to think so.
You have been #1 in the world, and we were talking earlier to Greg, who is driven. Yeah. He desperately wants to be the #1 in the world. Yeah. How much is the fire still burning inside you to go back to that?
I think it's burning as much as anything. I think, if anything, this year has refueled my batteries or charged me to want to win even more. And I think that I also learnt this year of my strengths and my weaknesses, and I also learned that I enjoy doing what I do, and I think that gives you all the strength you need. I have to say that Greg's not alone in wanting to win. I think that that everyone in Britain has that desire. I just think we need a little bit more belief sometimes that it can be done.
I think you've got a few members of the Damon Hill fan club here as well. I think there we are. You see a Union flag with Damon written on it. So there's a huge amount of goodwill towards you for next year. And just as a final question to both of you, what are your targets for next year? What would you be satisfied with realistically, Eddie?
I think, you know, everything is in place, from the engine, from the sponsors, from the drivers, the package. Jordan has never been in as good a position as we currently are. And I really feel we have to win. To win a championship is always very difficult. I'm not trying to go and speculate exactly where we are, but we've grown in stature every year, and as long as that growth continues, but at a more rapid pace perhaps, I'll be happy with that.
Damon?
Well, I'd like to win Jordan's first Grand Prix. And if we can win races, then I think that we can be a strong contender in the championship. And I'd like to see the Jordan team as one of the big four in Formula One.
Well, let's hope you're right. Thanks an awful lot for coming on. Eddie Jordan, Damon Hill. And